CSTE, the Unexplored Territories. Caste is the most potent social issue in India, which has the power to destabilise the society at will, and many are the studies, and many more are their remedies, done so far. But it still remains as incendiary as before. This book examines the issue afresh, with special attention to its relevance in the changing environments of India. While elaborating on the dangers that are being caused by the continuation of this, it also offers substantial suggestions for its speedy elimination. Authored by R.Y.T. James. Part 3. 7.1 The very first singularity is philosophy, or the way it is understood by the society large. For example, societies, Indian philosophy in particular and others in general, treat possessions as unnecessary, or at least as overvalued, additions to one's life. These also bring misery to man, which in effect lead to a state where, lesser the possessions, more desirable the life becomes. This is not as harmless a thought as it looks. We, I think, do not realize that the story of the progress human species have achieved so far is the story of our efforts in adding new possessions, in retaining a few, or in the destruction of some. Further, this did lead, as Marx observed earlier, to the formation of caste as a result of the total lack of social intercourse, compounded by absence of desires and efforts indispensable to social advance. This lack of social intercourse can be easily attributed to the possibility that the society that flourished in India in the ancient times would have been remarkably calm and totally self-sufficient. Also, the populace, which is always at an equilibrium induced by philosophy, would not have been finding reason worthy enough to cause agitation. In fact, this will be much clearer if we compare the importance of the part played by philosophy in the conduct of life and the activities that make it to the role played by a spring and dashpot mechanism in a traditional mechanical system, or that played by a capacitor-inductor combination in the similar electrical system. These arrangements are provided to dampen disturbances, and thereby enable smooth operation of the particular system. As it is well known, failure can happen in any system due to a mechanical or physical shock, which is a sudden acceleration or deceleration, caused, for example, by impact, drop, a kick, or other design deficiency. Failure can also be caused by an electrical shock, for example, by lightning, overload, or short circuit, that can cause a sudden change in the electrical parameters, voltage, current, frequency, etc., that can result in abrupt changes in operating conditions, which can lead to system failure, or malfunction, or both. In a mechanical system, the spring dashpot arrangement introduces stability in its operation by absorbing sudden changes in acceleration. As far as an electrical system goes, the capacitor-inductor combination cancels out the instantaneous changes in the values of voltage, absorbed by the capacitor, and current, blocked by the inductor, thereby preventing the system from any abrupt changes caused by disturbances. This is how we ensure smooth operation of both the systems. It should be remembered that such mechanisms are noticeable by its absence in systems which are expected to perform beyond conventional limits, like the control mechanism of a supersonic fighter aircraft. A high-performance system should be designed to accept large disturbances in the signal, and it cannot afford to have such smoothing incorporated. Or, as a corollary, a system protected from such large disturbances cannot operate beyond conventional limits or attain high performance. To apply this argument to human society, remember that philosophy, being the smoothing force of a culture, inhibits any sudden changes in the behavior or outlook of the people, in response to external or internal stimuli. Not only that, systems of education follow a society's philosophic ideas about what children should be taught and for what purposes. Some societies may stress that young people learn to think and make choices for themselves. Few others may discourage any such activity and would want their youth to surrender their own interests to those of the state. A few others would like to live in the memories of past glory, encouraging the youth to assess every new turn with such a yardstick for acceptance or rejection. The values and skills taught by the educational system of a society thus reflect the society's philosophic ideas of what is important. Thus we can easily see, philosophy helps people to clarify what they believe, and they can be stimulated to think about ultimate questions, beliefs about what is important, true, real, and significant. It thus makes life immune to any type of disorder or disturbance in the society, which might have been due to external or internal aggression or natural or unnatural causes, whether those are welcome or not. Whenever destructive disturbances arise, it is the smoothing character of philosophy that keeps a society from disintegration and despair. One who has a matured outlook do not fall easily to novel ideas, and even when they do, it shall be on condition. On the contrary, societies that are not philosophically oriented shall be led quickly to their doom, since people from those societies are likely to embrace a novel idea without any reservations. Or, wherever disturbances arise, it is the smoothing character of philosophy that shall keep a society from destroying itself. When the disturbance is due to something benevolent, say a new invention or turbulence resulting from a desirable social change, societies that are void in philosophical support adapt to such changes quickly, reaping the associated benefits. Those societies which are philosophically well ahead refuse to get disturbed, thus failing to harvest any benefit of the change. Many a time, such societies may not find anything beneficial in a change, being already in a state of bliss. It should be noted that doom, as well as progress, involve change, and philosophy, by inhibiting change, immunizes a society from both. Therefore we can say that to progress, we should be ready to tolerate disorder. The more willing we are in accommodating disturbances, the faster shall be our progress. Or we can say, wherever constructive disturbances arose, it was the smoothing character of philosophy that kept a society from reaping its benefit. This is what happened. Caste-like divisions, which would have been of use once upon a time, continued to remain in Indian society as it was safely guarded by philosophy against any kind of influence that would have led to changes. 7.2 Next singularity is the invaders, traders or explorers whose attacks, interactions or findings did make long-standing impacts. Almost all of them contributed handsomely to changes in the social appearance of the caste system, some of them due to their inability in comprehending the uniqueness of Indian caste system and others by their cleverness in shaping the caste system to suit the needs of governing the vanquished. British, though had the longest lasting empire in India, in fact, did nothing to alter the existing caste equations or to restructure the society for the better. Not only that, they seem to have made considerable efforts towards bringing the material aspect of caste differences to fore to enjoy temporal benefits. This stands in stark opposition to their efforts in the direction of the welfare of Aborigines and their integration in another part of British Empire, Australia, which is quite striking, since further studies clearly show that several of the tribes of southern India, who were of the race Homo dravida, had more in common with Australian Aboriginals than their Aryan or high caste neighbours. To cite an example of the thoughtful steps some of the colonial administrators took when Dr. Cecil Cook was appointed Chief Protector in 1927, he was wholly unsupportive of the missions. This was partly because of the poor conditions. More importantly, Cook had a similar vision of assimilation as West Australian Chief Protector A.O. Neville. Cook supported biological assimilation, generally by the fifth and invariably by the sixth generation. All native characteristics of the Australian Aborigine are eradicated. The problem of our half-castes will quickly be eliminated by the complete disappearance of the black race, and the swift submergence of their progeny in the white. Note: in Australia, there is no single Aboriginal, traditional, culture. It varies in time and place. Over 400 tribes, each with their own language and traditions, have been found to constitute the Aborigines. Moreover, certain aspects of culture found in one region may be absent in others. It is possible that some practices described may only occur in some areas, by particular tribes, also called language groups or nations, or by particular people. In this sense, it is quite possible that in the natural course, Australia would have become a group of nations, just as Europe is today. The British, even though appreciated problems of black race, half-caste as well as native characteristics and took appropriate corrective actions and when they encountered those issues in Australia, found that, when it came to India, caste system is a great expedient which could be put to effective use in the governance of the country. In appropriating the caste system for their use, not only that they chose to overlook all the ills associated with it, but also planned their further moves to derive whatever benefits it offered. All the chroniclers of British Empire seem to have glossed over this conundrum, by a mere acknowledgement that the diversity of races in India and the presence of a powerful Mohammedan community greatly favoured the maintenance of our rule. To put briefly, it needs to be noted that all the available discourses on the history of caste in India fail to provide a logical explanation for two historical facts. The British, who identified certain problems connected with caste-like divisions in the Australian part of their empire, realised that those are detrimental to a healthy society, suggested solutions for its eradication and passed suitable laws to implement them. The same British, when in the Indian part of their empire encountered more severe caste issues, not only overlooked the ills but also strengthened the social presence of caste further and made it more spread out. And by according status and acceptability to it, they ended up converting caste into a coveted social attribute. As a result of this enhanced social relevance, caste status of each and every individual started to influence various benefits that are to accrue to one in the material plane. This altered the traditional meaning of caste. From the abstract and harmless varna, with its say on the equally harmless matters of rebirth, caste became one of great significance to current life. This resulted in certain radical changes, which continued ever since. A more earthly meaning came to be associated with caste and it started establishing itself as a social division of permanence as time went by. Had this, rather than remaining as a convenience for ceremonial purity, caste acquiring an earthly meaning, not happened, the whole gamut of delineating people into different varna would have been taking its rightful place along with all other abstract, esoteric divisions like 8 types of marriages, 4 types of sleep or 7 types of teachers. To show one such grouping, elephants are studied in 7 functional, objective divisions. 1. Which lets of man mount over it when in company with another elephant. Conjuropavaya. 2. Which can be used for riding when led by a warlike elephant. Sanahiopavaya. 3. Which is taught trotting. Dharana. 4. Which is taught various kinds of movements. Adhanakatika. 5. Which can be made to move by using a staff. Yashtiyupavaya. 6. Which can be made to move by using an iron hook. Jatropavaya. 7. Which can be made to move without whips. Siddhapavaya. As prescribed by Arthastra. All this brings us to a question. Why did the British fiddle with the Indian caste system without realising its full magnitude and essence? A rather uncharacteristic move from a great culture. Had they not done it, caste would have been remaining as just another matter of academic interest, leaving hardly any room for consternation other than for pedantic one-upmanship. 7.3 Another singularity took the form of Mahatma Gandhi. His views contained advice unfavourable to caste lovers, such as, I believe in Varnasrama of the Vedas, which is based on absolute equality of status, notwithstanding passages to the contrary elsewhere. The most effective, quickest, and the most unobtrusive way to destroy caste is for reformers to begin the practice with themselves, and the higher classes will have to descend from their pedestal. His advice to the lower caste was that they should endeavour to merge themselves in the ocean of Hindu community, and trust merit to command attention. On another occasion, he is seen as proclaiming that reserving seats for positions is a dangerous principle. Protection of neglected classes should not be carried to an extent which will harm them. And a person after he has secured a seat in an elected body should depend upon his intrinsic merit and popularity to secure coveted positions. To the caste men, on the other hand, his advice was that they should prove that they had obliterated caste by their readiness to take up all those occupations which the untouchables engaged in. Thus they should be ready to do scavengers' work. The system of cleaning toilets would then be automatically transformed. In England, real Bahanjas were famous engineers and sanitarians, who had a perfectly clean way of dealing with human excreta. Needless to say, the Harijans will live in the same streets as others without any segregation, given that the prestige and influence associated with the name Mahatma Gandhi were, at that time, an all-time high. Above-mentioned changes would have taken place, leading to a massive social revolution that would have resulted in the future as he hoped for, leading to a new India with a greater degree of cohesion in society, upper caste much less upper, and lower caste none lower than any other. A two-pronged strategy can be seen to have been put in place by those of the upper caste to obfuscate such preposterous suggestions of Mahatma Gandhi, the acceptance of which would certainly have resulted in them or their progeny, for sure, to have lost their exclusiveness, which caste status brought. Firstly, while drafting a new constitution, introduce social and political changes which will have the potential for cementing the caste divisions with added strength. Towards this end, a certain provision like reservation for low caste people is introduced with the apparent aim of dealing with the caste problem. For their luck, the idea of reservation was readily adopted by the framers of the Indian Constitution, obviously without much meaningful debate. This perhaps points to the dire need, then existed, for finding a via media to the suggestions of Mahatma Gandhi. Though there were opposing sounds as can be seen in a couple of discussions shown below, these were not forceful enough to make a mark. One pundit, Thakur Das Bhargava, opposes reservation during the debates while discussing Art 294 of Indian Constitution. It may be said that in wealth, social influence and social status they are inferior, but all the same I want that their position may be levelled up in ways other than by reservation of seats. Will be very harmful. To Sri Bridgewar Prasad. The problems the scheduled castes face are primarily educational and of an economic character. They are of a cultural character. We want to raise the cultural level of these downtrodden and oppressed people. I do not see how their representation in the legislatures will in any way alter the material and the moral level of these people. Representations here and there will provide opportunities for a handful of leaders, but it will not in any way materially alter their economic or their educational level. Better lay down in the Constitution that a fixed percentage in the budget, both central and provincial, shall be exclusively devoted for their welfare. I am quite clear in my own mind that by giving them a few seats here and there, their economic condition and their education level will in no way be improved. Secondly, rather than a shrewd and intelligent social reformer whose words should carry more weight than his figure, the very image evoked by the name Mahatma Gandhi was altered such that the people are made to see a saintly visage whose form is immensely lovable, everything else palling into insignificance. To achieve this, a silent but effective method was put into motion. All that Mahatma Gandhi ever wrote, specifically on abstract topics, on such intangibles like truth, love, etc., is given wide publicity while condemning to obscurity all his writings on other earthly topics, most of which dealing with caste issues and Harijan welfare, that too, in many places with concrete suggestions. The incongruity of idolizing Mahatma Gandhi as the father of nation while ignoring almost everything he mentioned about the nation and its soul however remains. However, everyone took to heart one opinion of the Mahatma, that low caste brethren needs our love. Through this perspective, reservation could be seen, still so, as a sacrifice forced on the upper caste population while providing incomparable benefits to those of lower castes. No wonder support for reservation was huge. Also, any opinion against reservation could be easily construed as something aimed to weaken the lower castes. 7.4 Communism presented itself, indirectly though, as another singularity. This fear of thought, especially the revolutions it gave birth to, in Russia and China, could have deeply influenced Indian leaders. The resulting social order of equality would have greatly influenced our appreciation of caste issues and the way we are to find answers to the problems it posed. Its potential to spark long-standing changes in the social environment will be amply clear if we are to note that communism in fact sports more than one face. What we commonly see, a group of young, and maybe not so young, men and women charged with ideals and the desire to see the plight of many changed for the better, is one. A group, this may be a smaller one, of intellectuals who manufacture propositions convincing enough to inspire, propel and guide them in their quest, making them move forward with incessant thrust, is the other. The former is responsible for all that we welcome in a change, the alacrity, the selfless devotion of protagonists and absence of any motive or consanguineous profit other than for the benefit of all. In short, in communism, those who follow the precepts are the best of humanity, and this system sometimes produces good results even though the philosophy is flawed. Also, As this happened in societies already hitting the rock bottom, something favourable could be seen in every result achieved, which might be the reason that no one noticed the contradictions it contained till communism collapsed. During communism in Russia, the famines of 1921 and 1932-33 resulted in the death of more 5 million people each, not counting additional deaths of 7 to 8 million people in the violence involved with decolonization during the period 1930-37. Also, the state policies of agriculture in Russia, as well as China, was based on lysenkozism, a modified form of Lamarck's theories, some of the main beliefs of which is that like species help each other whereas unlike species do not, as well as inheritance of acquired characteristics. In China too, communists adopted such principles in guiding state farming policy. Accordingly, Mao ordered organizing the agriculture into collectives, introducing certain farming practices like close planting, deep ploughing, non-use of chemical fertilizer, etc., resulting in massive fall in agricultural output, giving rise to a famine on a scale never before seen in China. In the period 1958 to 61, acute food shortage resulted in the death of a staggering 30 to 40 million Chinese. The invisible bond that held people of each caste together, especially in times of need, was the factor which insulated the Indian society from the effects of global changes. This, I think, is the reason the barbaric period of the Middle Ages failed to leave any telltale mark in India. Over the recent past, communism also, like any other global movement, did not succeed in making any direct impact or lasting changes on Indian society, even though lysenkozism and the possibility of inheriting environmentally acquired characteristics proposed by the theory found its way into the hearts of the reservationists, providing them with the necessary scientific foundation to propagate the idea of reservation as a panacea for all social inequalities. In fact, this scientific foundation is the reason why many progressives continued to support reservation as a vehicle of growth. 7.5 Next singularity, the most potent of all, is reservation or its euphemism, social justice. The romantic thought of lower caste brethren being uplifted en masse by a tiny adaptation on the part of those belonging to the upper caste must have influenced our constitution makers. Otherwise, it is impossible to justify such a serious lapse as overlooking the most substantial side effect, that this shall result in perpetuating caste system. The desirable changes reservation system did bring in, and as doing so have been discussed at length, the general idea emerging from all these is that reservation system offers many advantages to the downtrodden, marginalized sections. The only disadvantage of reservation system is that, mainly, opportunity is being curtailed for upper caste people, that is to say, advantages of reservation shall be exclusive to those lower in caste, and disadvantages of reservation shall be directed exclusively to those higher in caste. Such an idea is preposterous. Reservation system may be providing certain advantages to the marginalized sections, however, some disadvantages also are their share. The most severe one among such impediments is that it reduces or takes away the requirement of competing. To be specific, it nullifies the necessity for engaging in a contest with people of other castes, as a result of which, everyone lower in caste is denied a better opponent, the best catalyst for growth. As competition is removed from those of lower caste, they also are denied the fruits of competition, the sweetest of which, as is well known, is all-round development including intellectual acuity, the most important fruit. Thus the most substantial, lasting effect of reservation is that, for those who get reserved positions, further growth also gets stunted in all dimensions. I agree, there are many other, perhaps welcome effects, but, in the light of such a serious, long-lasting consequence as this, all of those should pale into insignificance. Similarly, this system may be prejudicial to upper caste people, but some benefit also is their share. A closer look will show that people of the upper castes, due to greater opportunities of competition as well as the opportunities for sharper competition that are occurring as a fallout of reservation, are growing further in all faculties at a faster rate. Considering together both the above effects, the intellectual gap between people of lower caste and those belonging to upper caste will be on the rise as generations go by. A stage will come, certainly in a few generations, making it difficult for the upper and lower caste population to live together in this world, at least as equal beings. The frightening thing is that those of lower caste shall be incapable of realizing their past, that they once were more or less equal to all others. And this might lead to permanent changes in the structure of human race of the future. This danger can be averted to a great extent if the existing reservation system itself is put to use appropriately. That is to say, the existing system can be reintroduced in a manner befitting, or as an incentive to, growth. For example, reservations can be made available only to jobs needing higher educational or academic qualifications and merit, as a minimum requirement. In which case, those lower in caste should be forced to attain greater standards of knowledge, skill, and learning. To elaborate, let us say we have introduced a new system of reservation, called progressive justice, according to which all jobs in this country are grouped into different levels, such as level 1 to level 7, with level 1 needing the lowest and level 7 needing the highest entry-level educational status, say level 1 needing a pass in some schooling and level 7 needing the highest qualification with certain research experience. To begin with, reservation is made applicable to all the jobs available, right from level 1 upwards to level 7, at a progressively increasing rate. That is, if 10% of level 1 jobs are reserved for those of lower caste, 12% of level 2 jobs, 15% level of 3 and so on, with level 7 showing the maximum, say 30%. After some time, say 2 years, the system is subjected to review and level 1 jobs shall be removed from the domain of reservation. The quantum of reserved positions released can be added to the quota of other higher levels. That is, if 11% level 2 jobs are reserved, 15% level 3 and so on, with level 7 showing the maximum, in this case, 35%. After some more time, say another 2 years, the system is again subjected to review and level 1, as well as level 2 jobs, shall be removed from the ambit of reservation. The quantum of reserved positions thus released can be added to such positions available at other higher levels where it is still in force. That is, if 20% level 3 jobs are reserved, 25% level 4 and so on, with level 7 showing the maximum, say 40%. Some more time after that, say another 8 years, when this system of prioritization is subjected to review, there shall be no need to continue the scheme as the ends would have already met. It can be seen that more learned or skilled one is, greater will be the chances of finding a living with ease. Therefore learning, as well as improving one's skill, becomes a necessity. For the present, as those lower in caste can very well earn a living by doing one of the low-paid or menial jobs reserved for them. As a result, learning, acquiring a new skill, or sharpening one's talents are not necessities for them. As mentioned earlier, the pressing, ardent desire to find an alternative to the wild suggestions of Mahatma Gandhi might have blinded all reformists. Otherwise, nothing can explain their inability to see at least one such possibility. In the study focusing on the role of education in social mobility within the context of class structure by Hiroshi Shida et al., class origin corresponds to respondent's father's class, and class destination, current class of respondent, are seen to have been influenced by unequal access to education for different class origins. Two forms of educational advantage to children of professional and managerial class, read upper castes, a better access to higher levels of education and an avoidance of lower levels. Allocation of class positions, of destination, influenced by class origin. Here also, wards of highly qualified people have an advantage in access to professional and managerial positions, but they also may be successful in avoiding manual positions. Conversely, wards of poorly qualified are not only excluded from professional and managerial positions, they are more likely to be recruited to manual positions, reserving menial and low-pay jobs for those low in castes, needless to say, adding fuel to fire. Effective education on class reproduction and mobility is remarkably uniform across nations with the exception of two socialist nations, namely, Poland and Hungary, of the above-mentioned study. In these countries, more people can be seen as choosing manual and unskilled classes as a destination, irrespective of the class origin, which could be attributed to the effect of the prevailing political climate. In this, a major obstacle to equality of educational opportunity probably comes from the resistance of those of certain class origin, e.g., managerial classes, to low qualifications, in addition to them having better access to high qualifications, while in case of lower classes, even when they were provided with access to high qualifications, as they are now, the easy availability of low qualifications and the possibility of thus finding a livelihood effectively prevented them from reaching higher destinations. Also, the low classes lack the cultural traits necessary for making one strive hard, or endure pains, to gain entry into higher reaches of the academic world, or dream about climbing the social ladder. We thus can see the cultural needs and desires, the fulfillment of which is the yearning of all who try to achieve better positions in life, are not fully developed in the case of lower caste people. And presently, we are doing nothing to inculcate such a desire. Also, we are compounding the situation by making low qualifications sufficient to fetch a living. Therefore, it is all the more important that this possibility of finding a livelihood with low qualifications is eliminated, if education is to be of use as an expedient. This was clearly noticed while analysing the dissimilar growth rates in many industrialised nations, which exposed a link between the people's desire to excel in life and the actual rate of growth. Also, the desire to do well in life was found to be influenced by many socio-cultural parameters. 7.6 Next, and probably the ultimate singularity may happen sometime in the future, many, or maybe few, generations from today. In his well-known essay on biological possibilities for the human species in the next 10,000 years, J.B.S. Haldane mentions of the possibility of human species dividing into two or more branches for development of different human capacities. To me, this is a terrible danger, as such species should fail to understand each other, and such misunderstanding can generate quarrels and even war. Another paper on the future of human race mentions that multiculturalism, which is the essence of modern society, is to play a vital role in its future. It shouldn't come as any surprise that humans finally evolve into a single, ubiquitous ethnic group, should the mixing of the cultures continue. As miscegenation becomes commonplace, humans will slowly begin to lose the distinguishing features of their ethnicity, and instead, take on characteristics from many different parts of the world. There's an obvious benefit. All this will reduce race to a non-entity, and it will no longer be an issue. One can, however, expect a genetically smart upper class and a dim-witted underclass to emerge. In still another scenario shown by the Royal Society, normal work itself can be expected to evolve over the next decade. Here, enhancement technologies show great potential to make a very significant contribution. Widespread use of enhancements might influence an individual's ability to learn or perform tasks. This consequently can affect or become part of the profession, which could influence motivation, or enable people to work in more extreme conditions or into old age, reduce work-related illness, or facilitate earlier return to work after illness. Moreover, this may give rise to the danger of the enhanced population modifying the world in which they live to their advantage. Consequently, the rest of the people shall get an additional load of accommodating to the changed world. Also, the intellectual gap between different groups of people will be playing a significant part in deciding the path each culture comes to follow. It should be a matter of great concern that the different possibilities of the succession of the humans, though shall be baffling on all cultures, is bound to land an earth-shattering impact on the already stratified and intellectually weakened Indian society. One thing common with all these propositions is the possibility of an inferior group, which shall be at the receiving end of any eventualities. Majority of Indians with their rate of intellectual growth at risk might find themselves at that end, the part, branch or form of the enhanced future species where no humans should be. Chapter 8. Caste. A summary. Caste is a relic of dark ages. In India, it did not evolve into a modernized version in the natural course of events as the people were not the real custodians of their society, having been under foreign rule for many years, and those ruled over this country finding great use in caste. Any such prospect would have been brought to an immediate halt. Other countries had their share of such customs which are even more shocking, like lynching, burning at stake are various entertainments of Roman Empire, all of which evolved into something more acceptable to society as time went by. Even in recent times, some nations continued following many questionable practices, and one such, in the area of eugenics, can be cited as example, where compulsory abortion or other controls over reproduction is imposed on people. The medicine which is being tried towards amelioration of the victims of caste is reservation. It can be easily observed that we are applying the cure with no regard to its consequences, just as we followed the caste system with no regard to its ill effects. It is only logical to realize that, even without considering all that is mentioned about its lack of effectiveness, as the cure is not working, we need to change medication. About the author. He has taken to writing on retirement from Indian Navy in 2013 after a lengthy career, during which he had the good luck to come across his colleagues, subordinates and superiors, a real, wide cross-section of India, and quite a few more from the rest of the world. Every second person, during those years, that one had to do business with, thus being from entirely different backgrounds and consequently opening up a kaleidoscopic view of society, he couldn't but reflect on human transactions in many colours, each of them leading to a horde of imponderables, human or non-human, living and non-living. Other books by this author. Please visit your favourite ebook retailer to discover other books by Roy T. James. The Unsure Male, a bold, new look at the enigma of life that explains everything one needs to know. Glimpses of autobiography, a bunch of people, their impressions, and thoughts that would have found a place in his autobiography, had he wrote one. Hubs that provoke, an oblique view of all that we consider as the most cherished values in life. More hubs that provoke, some more views, of all that we consider as the most cherished vows in life. Easy Route to Peace, a collection of essays proposing a few quick and easy ways to simplify the complex life we have made for ourselves. Homo Posterus, a science fiction novel.